we welcome you to our continuing coverage of the 2021 Philadelphia Eagles. Our coverage presented by DraftKings. We're here live at the NovaCare Complex on this Wednesday, and there he is, Jordan Howard, up on the active roster after 2 call-ups from the practice squad. Howard, 29 carries, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns in those 2 weeks, and now he's on the 53-man roster. Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy. Fran, how are you?
Dave, I'm wonderful. It's a beautiful day out there on this Wednesday, and it's a good day for some football.
It is a great day for some football. Eagles shaking off the loss to the Chargers on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field, a game that went down to the wire, and now they get back into the AFC West again, this time a road trip to a befuddling Denver Broncos team that we will talk about here as the Eagles get it all lined up. TJ Edwards and the defense will have quite a handful against the Broncos run game that produced 190 yards rushing last week in their win over the Dallas Cowboys, a victory that raised the Broncos to 5-4 on the season. They started out 3-0 against a bunch of cupcakes, lost 4 straight games against the AFC, and have bounced back against the NFC East, Washington and Dallas, and now looking at the Philadelphia Eagles. Fran, what do you make of this Broncos team? How legit are they?
Well, they have really interesting pieces on both sides of the football. Their offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur.
We know him.
We know Pat Shurmur, right? A couple tenures here in Philadelphia. They've got a lot of really intriguing pass catchers, but then their run game is really where it all starts offensively. They've got the rookie second-round pick, Javonte Williams, who is just a load to bring down. He is going to be a huge test for this Eagles front seven because he is one of the harder guys to get down one-on-one. He's so strong. His balance is outstanding. His vision is really good. And then they've got a battle-tested veteran right there alongside him in Melvin Gordon, a former first-round pick of the Chargers, who's very familiar with Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and other members of this coaching staff. So I think when you look at that two-headed rushing attack there with the Broncos, that's where it starts with them offensively.
And we've seen their run scheme similar to what San Francisco runs, that stretch zone. Eagles did a pretty good job against the Niners, challenging against this team that controlled the football for 41 minutes against Dallas on Sunday. And the quarterback is Teddy Bridgewater, who's had a solid season, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, coming back from major knee injury in his career. A guy that you really, obviously we don't want him to play well this week, but you root for somebody like that who has had so many kind of setbacks in his career.
No doubt. It's something that is huge with his career arc, is just his ability to fight through multiple injuries. And I think when you look at Teddy Bridgewater, he's executing that pass game pretty well. It's going to be a scheme that, focused in on West Coast offense staples and getting the ball out fast. You're going to see those things in the quick game, but we have to remember too that they're 4th in the NFL in deep pass attempts so far this season, David. And a lot of that is going to be those deep go routes to guys like Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick on the outside. Both guys are 6'3 plus. Both guys are 210 pounds plus. 2 big twin towers on the outside that they're fine saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to throw this up to you. Go ahead and go catch it. So that'll be a big test here for the Eagles secondary in this game.
Yeah, a secondary as we keep our eyes on injuries. Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox, Eagles cornerbacks, listed as day-to-day. So we'll find out if they're on the practice field today as we take a look. Don't see them, but that doesn't mean anything because we're only looking at this one single camera on this shot. Slay saying this morning that he felt good and he was working towards Sunday. So we'll see, Fred. I don't know if the altitude has any impact here. The road trip has any impact here. Devontae Smith, after his big game on Sunday against the Chargers, 100 yards plus.
Yep.
But obviously having Slay and Maddox is a big, big shot in the arm potentially for the Eagles if they are able to play.
Yeah, having those against these pass catchers. I mentioned, that when you have the depth of targets that they have. I mentioned Sutton. I mentioned Patrick. They're the 2 bigger receivers on the perimeter. Jerry Jeudy, former first-round pick, who was a former teammate of Devontae Smith at Alabama. They got him back from injury recently. He's going to be moved all around the formation. They used him a lot in motion this past week to mess with the Dallas defense. That'll be a guy that Avonte Maddox, if he's able to go, he will be matched up on Jerry Jeudy in the slot. Then you go to the tight end position. Noah Fant, who may or may not be coming off the COVID-19 list here this week. He's a really athletic, dynamic player down the seam for them, but they also have a backup tight end who also has a lot of those similar tools in Albert Okwuegbunam. And so when you have these 2 athletic tight ends with 3 impressive pass catchers and then those 2 backs in the backfield in the run game, that gives you a lot of versatility offensively, and then you've got that point guard back there in Teddy Bridgewater. And so a lot to contend with here with this Denver offense.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the Broncos have some injury concerns of their own starting on the offensive line. The right guard, Graham Glasgow, out with a broken ankle, done for the season. The right tackle, Bobby Massey, ankle surgery. He'll miss this game. They're hopeful, although I'm not sure how hopeful, of getting their left tackle, Garrett Bowles, back. He's been out for a while with an ankle injury. So that's potentially, Fran, 3 starters out for the Broncos. Now, they've gotten some good play from their reserves, but still, that's where you want to take advantage and win in the trenches.
Yeah, so what will look like if Bowles can go, then he'll slide back to left tackle. Calvin Anderson, who played left tackle last week against Dallas, he has actually been the right tackle most of this season. It was him and Massey fighting for that right tackle spot, and it looked like Anderson had kind of settled into that role, and then with the injury to Bowles, he had to slide over. So we'll see how that tackle situation shakes out. When you talk about the right guard spot, Graham Glasgow out for the year, they've got a kid that they drafted in the second round who is going to be the starting right guard. He was drafted just after the Eagles selected Landon Dickerson. And so that's going to be, it'll be a rookie, seeing a lot of Fletcher Cox matched up in this game. That'll be a little bit of a matchup here to watch, especially on situations where Teddy Bridgewater is holding on to the football and looking to address downfield.
All of these uncertains, we will know when you tune in on Sunday to our kickoff show presented by Exalta, 3:35 airtime on the website, our official app, and our social media channels, live both from the NovaCare complex and from Denver, where the Eagles have not won since 1989. They're 0-3 in that time. The Broncos, a 5-4 football team, they will wear their orange color rush jerseys, Fran. So it's going to be a bright, bright day where the sun shines 300 days a year in lovely Denver, Colorado. Some other storylines for you. All 3 Eagles wins have come on the road this season. The Broncos, of course, whipping up on the Cowboys 30-16. Fran, I want to ask you in just a moment, is that for real?
Yeah.
So we'll find out. Let's find out about that. The most recent meeting between these teams, 2017, the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Philadelphia whipping up on Denver 51-23 at Lincoln Financial Field. And what a crazy year for the Broncos. 4 straight wins to open the season, 3 straight losses. 3 straight wins to open the season, 4 straight losses, and 2 straight wins. Fran, what's up with this football team?
Well, they've had a lot of injuries. They've had guys go in and out of the lineup. Their linebacking core has been absolutely decimated. The front 4, Von Miller was out. They lost Bradley Chubb. Then they trade Von Miller. What's the direction of this team? They lose Jerry Jeudy for a long time. They lost KJ Hamler, who's the speedster, the former second-round pick out of Penn State. So they just are constantly shuffling pieces on both sides of the football. Now that they're starting to get some of these guys back, some of the young players are starting to get their sea legs onto them a little bit. And we'll talk about that. They have a lot of young rookies that are making plays for them on both sides. And so this is a team that, still trying to find that identity, but with all the shuffling pieces, it makes sense as to why we've seen a lot of inconsistent play.
And the Eagles get the Broncos kind of in a wedge game here. After this week, Denver goes back into the AFC West. So you do wonder just a little bit, will the Broncos, coming off that emotional win in Dallas, where there were a bunch of Broncos fans in Arlington, Texas, will they overlook the Philadelphia Eagles? Is that a possibility?
A look ahead
A
game.
young team, got to stay at that emotional pitch. Who knows? Lane Johnson with Brett Toth there. Our continuing coverage of the Philadelphia Eagles 2021 regular season here at the NovaCare Complex, presented by DraftKings. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy, our X's and O's guru. Fran, what went right for the Eagles in a game that was tough on Sunday against the Chargers, but a lot of positives from the offensive side of the ball?
Clearly the run game, right? Another big game there from the rushing attack. Jordan Howard. We saw Boston Scott. We saw Kenny Gainwell get into the end zone. So the rushing attack, once again, a huge part of the Eagles' offensive attack. And then off of that, we've seen the Eagles now really execute well in the play-action pass game. Jalen Hurts over the last 2 weeks, 10 of 12 off play action, and so we're getting to see him be a little bit more efficient as a passer. That's been really important here for this Eagles offense. And honestly, one of the things, Dave, that's really stood out to me is that as the Eagles have become more efficient, and there's an efficiency metric that a lot of analysts will point to and say this is a really reliable number, is called EPA. It's expected points added. And really, when you look at an EPA per play, the Eagles offense has been number 1 in the NFL. What does that mean? It means that they've been really efficient and they've put themselves in position to be successful just over this 2-week span. And so when you look at what that has done for the rest of the offense. We talked about how that's allowed Jalen Hurts to be a little bit more decisive of a passer, but also it's really kind of opened things up for Nick Sirianni as a play caller. Now we're seeing them run complementary plays off of some of their base runs. They're starting to pair things up. The play sequencing has been really good. And so we've seen some really good things from the Eagles offensive side of the football. Now it's all about continuing to build on that moving forward. The last plane ride of the 2021 season as the Eagles take the show out west.
Yeah, and it certainly has benefited Jalen Hurts with a run game, great balance. Eagles are playing in front of the sticks. They've converted on third downs. They've been moving the football. They've been scoring. They've been doing a very good job in the red zone. And they just need to get a few more stops. And that is kind of one of the conversations to be had all week. The Eagles defense will be tested against Denver, which is equally balanced with a veteran quarterback. And Darius Slay talking about it this morning, the need to tighten up the coverages on the cornerbacks. It's on them.
Yeah, I think right now when you look at the Eagles defensively, we know that they've shored up against the run, right? That was an issue we had in that first month of the season. There were those runs that you would say, 6, 7, 8 yards, can't have that. You got to limit them down to 2, 3, 4 yards. And I think we've seen that over the last month and change. They've gotten a lot better downhill against the run. You're still going to give up some runs, but you've gotten a lot better, a lot more consistent. A big part of that has been TJ Edwards, number 57 in the middle of that defense. He's led the team in tackles over the last 2 weeks. He's been so good downhill. There he is right there in the middle of your screen. TJ Edwards has just been such a steady presence in the middle of this Eagles defense, especially when it comes to defeating blocks. And this week here on Eagles Game Plan, Dave, I was talking with Ike Reese before the show, and one of the big things he told me that he learned from Jim Johnson. Jim Johnson used to always say for his linebackers and for his safeties coming up to defend the run, you cannot be blocked one-on-one. That's a win for the offense. The offense wants to block you with one body, so you cannot be blocked one-on-one. And I think that was an issue for the Eagles in the first month of the year. Now you're starting to see these guys shed more blocks, get to the football. TJ Edwards, a number of examples over the last couple of weeks where whether it's against a fullback, a tight end, a wide receiver trying to crack block him, an offensive lineman in the hole, he's consistently defeating those one-on-one blocks. And so their ability to stop the run, that has really stepped up. Now let's just see if they can continue to tighten things up, muddy things up for the quarterback a little bit, force him to hold on to the football, and then see if the defensive line can get home.
Yeah, we showed you a shot, and let's do it again, of Devontae Smith, who will play, of course. He's had a very fine rookie season to date. And you go into this game feeling like, this will be a great matchup. Smith and Patrick Surtain, who suffered an injury the other day. We are not sure if he'll play. It sounds like they're kind of leaning toward the not play, but we'll find out during the course of the week. But what a great matchup. Surtain taken just before the Eagles moved up to get Devontae Smith, and he's and talking to people with the Broncos, already Patrick Surtain, the best cornerback on that team.
Really good. Yeah, he's looked really good.
So that would be another big loss. Again, we talk about this every week. The Eagles go into games and the defense missing players. That's the nature of the NFL. You must have depth, and certainly the Eagles relying on number 6 there. Devontae has had. What do you think of Devontae and where he's come? And I mean, the only thing that I can think of as a need to improve, but it's really not, because I think it's such an aberration. He's had a couple drops, but that's just something he doesn't do.
Yeah, and I think when you see the amount of volume that he got from a target standpoint last week, he's going to come through because he's consistently separating. His abilities as a route runner, his release package, his ability to get open stands out time and time and time again. He does a great job attacking the football, coming back downhill to it, undercutting defensive backs, and his toughness and his instincts as a route runner always show up. And this past week, I thought we saw some really good examples of Devontae Smith's ability to separate, especially down the field and in the intermediate area. To me, Dave, that's what separates the good receivers from the great ones. The average from the good is the guys that are able to separate in that window of, we'll say, 10 to 18 yards. That's where Devontae Smith is almost at his best, is his ability to create that separation, whether it's outside the numbers or in the middle of the field. He's really done it all in that area.
And there's Dallas Goedert, the Eagles' starting tight end, who's really blossomed in the role and just gets open, Fran, uses his body great after the catch. Somebody you certainly build around with this offense in the pass game. The Eagles have just all of a sudden achieved in these last couple of weeks a really good, balanced team offensively that can grind you with the run and beat you with the vertical throw down the field.
Yep.
That's a really good feeling to have going into Denver in this game on Sunday. Again, a defense that put it all together last week and just dominated the Dallas Cowboys. But how good are they really? We just don't know.
And that's the thing. It's funny when you bring up Dallas Goedert, and we saw some footage of Quez Watkins earlier. We've seen some Jalen Reagor. I've had people on Twitter ask, well, how come we're not seeing Dallas Goedert more involved in the pass game? Or how come Quez Watkins didn't get more targets? It's like, well, when you run the ball a lot, so you're not going to have less pass targets to go around. And so it's funny when people ask, well, run, how come not running the ball? Well, you're not going to get the same volume for some of the pass catchers. But we know what Dallas Goedert can do in the pass game, and his value this past week as well was in the run game and what he was able to do as a blocker. The Eagles have been one of the highest teams in the last couple of weeks of using multiple tight end sets. So you're going to rely on number 88, Dallas Goedert. You're going to get Jack Stoll, the rookie out there, Tyree Jackson, who you see there as well, and Richard Rodgers when he's been in the game. So all of these guys, they're going to be involved both from a pass game standpoint and from a run game standpoint.
The Eagles committed to the run? Oh, you better believe it on Sunday against the Chargers. At one point in the first half, 24 of 27 plays were runs, and that includes a couple of Jalen Hurts scrambles. Yeah. But clearly, Nick and the offensive coaches want to establish that line of scrimmage. They're getting great performances from Landon Dickerson, who's just a beast inside. We're seeing him grow up before our very eyes as a mountain-moving guard in this league, Fran. Any doubts about where his career trajectory is heading? No. Knock on wood, when he stays healthy? Yeah,
I mean, you could see what he does so well, and that's get push at the line of scrimmage in the run game. When it's, hey, it's mano-a-mano, it's one guy across from another, and I need to move you off your spot. That's where Landon Dickerson excels. That's where he's at his best. And so we've continued to see, as the Eagles have relied on some of these inside zone run concepts, getting the running backs downhill, that's where we've seen Landon Dickerson at his best over these last few weeks.
We are here live at the NovaCare Complex in South Philadelphia. A beautiful Wednesday. Eagles preparing to take to the road again. They've got 3 wins on the road this season. It's their final flight, as the remainder of the road trips are New York, and Washington. And the Eagles looking after the AFC West again, the Denver Broncos, a team that rebounded last week from some mid-season losses, a tough win against the Washington football team, and then they put it all together, shockingly, against the Dallas Cowboys. So at the very least, the Eagles have gotten very tuned in to the Broncos. The Broncos have gained the attention of the Philadelphia Eagles in a big way. Let's talk a little bit about Teddy Bridgewater, Fran. And he's completing 70% of his passes. At one point was a franchise kind of quarterback in the NFL.
First-round pick,
yeah. And then an injury that was devastating to him, and he just took a long time to find himself back in the league in a starting role. And here he is in Denver with a team that is right in the thick of things in the AFC West.
Yeah, he was really efficient as a starter last year for the Carolina Panthers. They weren't an explosive pass game, but he was really efficient in those underneath areas of the field in the quick game. We're seeing more of that this year, but as I mentioned too, willing to stretch the field as well. And so he's been a really nice point guard, the kind of caretaker of that pass game. They're still going to put him under center and hand the ball off to those backs as well and get him off play action. But that's really where you've seen Teddy Bridgewater shine, is just being a very efficient quarterback, very good decision maker, and a caretaker of the football.
Fran, how do the Eagles win this game? I mean, obviously, you got to get off the field defensively. Takeaways would be great. Control the football offensively. There are opportunities in all of those phases for the Eagles to do so. To me, and having been into a lot of games in Denver, starting fast is so important. Yeah. There have been games where it's just gotten ugly early on.
Yeah, and the other big thing we haven't really talked about yet here in this live stream is the Denver defense is so good at confusing opposing quarterbacks because of their use of disguise, and that's something that head coach Vic Fangio, wherever he's been, you go back just these recent years now, whether it's been with Denver, previously the defensive coordinator in Chicago. Before that, he was with those Jim Harbaugh teams in San Francisco. So he's had that success of really just harassing opposing quarterbacks. And whether that means with pressure, they're a top 7 team in the NFL in terms of blitz rate this year, or, hey, you know what, like what they did last week against Dallas, we're not going to blitz a ton, but we're going to do so many different things from a coverage standpoint that we're going to always keep you guessing. So they line up with a lot of 2 high safeties. That's where they're going to start. But they're second in the NFL in going from 2 high safeties down to 1, and now you don't know where that extra safety is going to go, how he's going to be used. Are you playing man? Are you playing zone? They just change all these things up from a coverage standpoint, always to keep opposing quarterbacks guessing.
And to counteract that, you do what? Short to intermediate passing game, get the ball out, run the football?
You have to. So basically what happens during the week of preparation, you have an understanding of down and distance, every team's got tendencies. So what coverage do they like to lean in when it's 1st and 10, when it's 2nd and medium, when it's 3rd and long? And you're going to try and dial up pass concepts that work against those coverages. My guess against Jalen Hurts, last week against Dak Prescott, they played a lot of man-to-man coverage, Dave, and I don't think they were worried, especially with Dak coming off the calf injury, of him breaking the pocket and running. That's going to be a little bit of a different concern going up against Jalen Hurts, who he just ran for 5 first downs on scrambles last week. So I don't think that they're going to come in and play a lot of man-to-man. My guess is the Eagles are going to see plenty of zone coverage here in this game. And so now it's going to be coming down to what kind of zone coverages will we see? Will it be cover 2? Will it be 3? Cover 4? Cover 6? You go right down the list. What are the coverages we're going to see? And what route concepts can we dial up to be able to attack those coverages? That's what the Eagles will have to do, especially in this game. And Jalen Hurts will have to trust those plans, right, in order to execute in the pass game. But obviously, the run game, that's if they can bring that with them out west, I think that will go a long way towards success as well.
If there's a reference point here to what Denver might do, let's go back to Week 4, Baltimore at Denver. They kind of played a mush rush against Lamar Jackson. They wanted to keep him in the pocket. They wanted him to throw the football. And so what is Lamar Jackson, who's improved a lot as a passer, 22 of 37 throwing the football, 316 yards and a touchdown, and a very workmanlike 23-7 win for the Baltimore Ravens. Only 7 runs for 28 yards for Jackson in that game. A season low, but that's kind of the adjustment, the adaptability that you have to have if the Broncos go in that direction. If they say, Jalen, we're going to make you beat us from the pocket, well, then Jalen Hurts has to step up and win from the pocket.
That's it. You can't defend everything in the NFL. You can't stop everything. So that means from an offensive standpoint, if you know that the defense is going to commit to stop X, Y, Z, well, then you need to come back with A, B, C. And so that will be the chess match here in this game.
Our continuing coverage of the Philadelphia Eagles 2021 regular season here at the NovaCare Complex, presented by DraftKings. Dave Spadaro along with Fran Duffy. Some injury updates for you. Vontae Maddox, Darius Slay not in uniform out there. They are listed as day-to-day with injuries suffered on Sunday against the Chargers. Josh Sweat, defensive end, in concussion protocol, so we'll have to wait until the end of the week to find out where he is. Looks like a rest day out there for Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. And I think, Fran, otherwise pretty healthy.
Looks like it. Team. Yeah, it looks like it's obviously that kind of year where everybody's kind of banged up. So you're going to start getting into load management with a lot of the veterans and making sure that those guys are fresh for Sundays.
And the Eagles wide receivers working there with wide receivers coach Aaron Moorhead. Would love to see production from all of them. Devontae's been terrific. Not a lot of targets for Jalen Reagor. Not a lot of targets for Quez Watkins. Greg Ward, not a lot of reps. So the Eagles would love to be more dynamic. And I think it comes with more possessions, longer possessions, and more balance. Well, they've been very balanced, but spreading the football around, that's something that Nick always wants to do.
That's the thing, is that when they've run the ball almost 40 times each game the past 2 weeks. So if you only run 65 offensive plays and you've got that means you've got 25 dropbacks with 40 runs, and that turns into about 7 or 8 runs for Jalen Hurts off scrambles. Well, now you've only got 15, 18 targets to go around. And if a bunch are going to go to Devontae and a bunch are going to go to Dallas Goedert, well, now the rest of these guys are going to fight for that. And so that's kind of the nature of the way the Eagles have played over these last 2 weeks.
Good stuff, Fran Duffy, Dave Spadaro saying goodbye from the NovaCare Complex, our continuing coverage of the Philadelphia Eagles 2021 regular season presented by DraftKings. Make sure you're with us each and every day, and for sure be with us starting at 3:35 on Sunday. The kickoff show presented by Exalta. Eagles need one on the road. Go Birds. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have yourselves a great Eagles day. Fly, Eagles, fly, and go Birds!